Welcome back to KyCPA's Behind the Numbers. We have with us again Jaclyn Badeau, and this is part 2 of our series with her. And we are speaking again about emotional intelligence. Welcome back, Jaclyn.
Yeah, thanks for having me back and look forward to chatting with everyone today.
We'll go start off with how does someone develop their EQ skills?
Oh my goodness, right? That is one of the number one questions I get. Okay, EQ sounds good. I'm bought in. I know it's the largest predictor of job success. You know, it surpasses technical skills and IQ. So that is literally what we all need to focus on. But then how, right? So one of the ways that you can do it first, I would always recommend you understand how much you actually use your emotional intelligence leadership skills. And one of the ways you can do that is go through a certified EQ person that can give you an assessment so you can understand how often you use those leadership skills. There's different types of assessments. So if anyone ever wants to chat about it, feel free to reach out to me, but you can go through someone certified and you actually get a report that gives you so much information that you can utilize with a coach or with someone else to really get into your different aspects of your leadership skills and come up with actual specific steps to improve what you need to focus on. So generally speaking, I want to say you got to start with having an understanding, right? Having that awareness of where you are in your usage of leadership skills first, and then start prioritizing. Some of us, you know, we all want to do everything and be the best we can at everything, but it really takes small actions, just very, very thoughtful small actions every day to make big changes in the long term. So that's what I encourage people to do. How often do you use leadership skills? Which ones, you know, if you invested in some time and some specific things, will you get your biggest bang for your buck, so to speak? And then specifically, what are some specific small steps that you could take every day to actually improve those particular leadership skills? So that's where I would start.
Yes, I took an EQ quiz. It was pretty easy. You basically just answer a bunch of questions quickly and honestly and not overthinking it. And then you go through and just see where your strengths and weaknesses are. And I did have some suggestions of how to improve on certain things. And it was pretty painless, pretty quick. And anyone could do this within their team and or their company. And so how would someone implement that in their overall plan within their company to guide their staff, coworkers, and try to really make that a culture within their company?
Yeah, there are several different ways, and it's all about, I think you hit it, Kimberly, it's all about what kind of culture you're trying to create. Now, there's a lot of companies who want to invest in their employees because they know they're the number one assets. Let's invest in their employees to help them grow. You know, many employees, that's what they're seeking. They're seeking learning and development opportunities. They want to grow within their careers. That's actually a study I had seen recently. In the top 3 of millennial generation, for example, of what they're looking for, learning and development opportunities is in the top 3. Number 3 was compensation and, you know, your whole package. So I think that's a lot to say is that if you're trying to attract certain people, attract and retain talent, to have that flexibility and to really invest in your people, to have a program, you know, some ways you can do that. You can have a coaching program within your company. So whether you go with a third party to come in and coach based on emotional intelligence, someone who's certified like myself, we would start with EQ assessments to the people you want coached. And then we would have one-on-one or sometimes different check-in points with other people included. I also do group coaching. So if there's a small group where we want to get 5-10 people in your company, either virtually together or in person together, to do small coaching based on EQ, we can do that. Another thing that a company can think about is training. I do a lot of training in the emotional intelligence space in lots of different leadership areas where there's lots of companies and firms who are like, I need to improve communication. I need to help my people delegate more effectively. I need to, empower my people or teach my people how to be coaches and how to give feedback. And oh my goodness, there's like 1,000 things that we all think we need to help our people with, right? Well, I can also come in and help build training and actually facilitate the training in different ways to really have people understand their EQ, their leadership skills, their abilities, understand, okay, here's where I'm at now, here's how I can do specific things to improve it, and then go apply it in everyday situations. And that's how I approach coaching, that's how I approach training. And there's a lot of specific ways you can approach these kind of things. And I would even say something like, just to give something very specific. So I like when someone says, okay, I get it, Jaclyn, that sounds all cool. And you keep on saying, hey, we're going to set goals. So what's an example of something I can do? And the first podcast, I know I gave an example, but here, let me give one too. So for example, if you're trying to improve your empathy. So let's say, first of all, it's always good to understand what the heck is empathy really. It's not about, oh, we all have to hug each other and cry together and I feel the same pain or the same joy that someone else does, that same emotion. That's nothing to do with empathy. Empathy is all about acknowledging or understanding someone else's point of view. That's all it is. You don't even have to agree with them. So let's say you struggle with that. And that's something that I've worked on for years and I continue to do. I just have to be very intentional and cognizant about it. So as I'm kind of thinking through that, I'm like, okay, how can I get better with empathy? Oh my goodness. One of the many ways you can get better with empathy is, first of all, just stop and listen more. Literally stop and listen. We have, 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. So I would say be very intentional and stop and listen more. And then you can push yourself just a little teeny tiny step further. And the next time you're interacting with someone, and I would challenge you to maybe practice this on someone where maybe there's some friction or maybe you want to repair something, is after a conversation, really listen. And then I want you to repeat back exactly what you heard and how you understand that they feel and say, did I interpret that correctly? Because literally, if you listen more to what they're saying, not to respond, but listen to what they're saying and then repeat back, it sounds like you're disappointed that you didn't get the promotion, for example, and see what they say. And when you do something like that, it automatically just, especially with those negative type of things, automatically just diffuses the situation and you that relationship. It's just one little tiny step. But if you keep on doing little tiny steps every day or intentionally every week, whatever, then you can really build your empathy leadership skills. So I wanted to give you an example, Kimberly, because lots of times I get that question, okay, give me a specific recommendation.
Right, yeah. How can I utilize this? Yes.
Exactly.
So you just spoke about how you could improve your empathy, and that's a positive outcome, developing your EQ skills. And so as a company, I would imagine that teams would be stronger, and also going out and trying to get business for your company would also be better, because if you're listening to your client and responding to what they really need, that would be something where just improving on your empathy and your listening skills and really understanding what they're saying, and it could probably develop new products or services that they may need in the future. I mean, those are just some things I can think off at the top of my head.
Oh my goodness, right. Yeah, there's a million things that can come out of a company, actually, teams, like you said, organizations, really investing in leadership and these emotional intelligence-based leadership skills. And on top of what you said, there's so much research that talks about how you can, how EQ-based training and coaching and really having that culture of that communication, and we really want to invest in our employees, how that helps increase sales and productivity, how that reduces turnover, I like how you said it. It also can open like innovation and creativity, right? To like new products and services. You use an example that I think is fantastic of, could it help you if you're a firm or even a company go out and build better relationships with their clients or find new business and clients? Absolutely. Because of a lot of what you said, right? If you are listening to your customer and you're building a genuine relationship, so that interpersonal relationship leadership skill, you're listening, that empathy, you know when to be assertive, that's another, EQ leadership skills. You know how to express yourself effectively. You know kind of your triggers to where if someone says something, whether it's internal or external, that's a trigger. So you practice techniques and you're getting better at how to respond to that in the moment. Problem solving, working with clients to solve a problem that can lead to future work. There's lots of skills within that, to have reality testing in check, to not fly off the rails, and to really exercise your impulse control leadership skills in the EQ space. To be flexible, flexibility is another EQ skill, stress tolerance and optimism. So think about that. If you had a positive outlook on life, and yes, we're going to have challenges. Yes, we're going to have setbacks, but you know what, client, or, let's lock arms, or team, let's lock arms. No problem. We made mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes. We're all human beings, but how can we come together and learn from that? But it's okay. Let's move forward. So think about, if you're building those genuine relationships, you have that culture where you'll come together, brainstorm together, that creates that innovation. Like you said, you could solve problems more efficiently and effective without your emotions taking over. You're grounded in reality. It's a balance. You don't want to always have your rose-colored glasses. Everything's rainbows and butterflies. But that balance of, yes, let's have objective information, but also consider the personal side. So all those interpersonal skills, right? Of your people, your relationships, your empathy. Think about if we were all on that same page, just like you said, for your business to achieve your objectives, to go after new business because you're listening and understanding more, you know how to handle conversations because we've all had crazy conversations with people, your team coming together. I just think that there's so much research that validates it, but you can also, if you've ever been part of a team, a company, an organization you volunteer for where people really care and they do want to openly communicate and build those leadership skills, oh my gosh, you could accomplish so much, right?
Yes, I completely agree. I know that over the course of several months now, that the situation for many businesses can be polar opposite. Some flourished because of the changes, and some, are on the brink of not surviving or having to start over again, and having a hard time. If your business is having a hard time, if you have these skills, I think that it'll help you get through them, and maybe think of how you can either completely revamp your business or do something completely different. For instance, some companies, especially some of the distilleries, we're going to make hand sanitizer, and some of them did that with just covering their costs or getting money from the government and that kind of thing. But it not only maybe helped them through maybe a tougher time, but even if they did it at cost, they're building that relationship with people, and people get to know who they are, their company's name. They may have never heard of them before. So, and I think that would be a good quality, and I would think that's a good EQ skill.
Yeah, no, I love what you said, because here's what I thought about as you were saying, resiliency, right? We've heard that word, we've always heard that word, but especially in 2020, resilient. How can we really be resilient human beings? Because we're going through a lot, and there's a lot of different situations as you just laid out. And that is EQ. That is the optimism leadership skill. So when people say resiliency, that's the EQ leadership skill of optimism, is having a positive outlook, being able to look forward and still have a vision despite setbacks. Because we don't have our rose-colored glasses on to say we will never have setbacks, because obviously we will. It's life, and especially in this year. But you had a great example of, the distilleries in Kentucky who even stepped up and did things like convert their lines over to make hand sanitizer. And that's also, there's a leadership skill called social responsibility, which is in the interpersonal area of EQ. And social responsibility is all about coming together and wanting to be part of a team, a company, an organization, a community. And you have a good balance of not only thinking about yourself, but also focusing on those higher areas to bring people together. And like you said, think about, and I'm sure the distilleries probably didn't do this intentionally, but think about the effects that they got afterwards, the branding, like you said, the name recognition. Like literally, I visited a distillery because I'm like, oh my goodness, they contributed to the community. That's where, if I'm going to spend money on something, that's where I want to put my dollars towards. And that had a lot to do with it, because they cared, because they changed their lives, because they came together with that social responsibility leadership skill. And so absolutely, Kimberly, I think you've hit it head on. There's so many things in EQ. You can go so many different ways with it, of saying how, because they thought socially responsible and they kept optimistic, how it helped. And not every day is going to be, sunshine and no tears, right? We're all going to have bad days. We're all humans, okay? In companies, there's a lot of people going through a lot of things individually and as companies, and those are real things. But if, something that can help them, not saying it's going to be the cure-all of everything, because it's not, but something that helps, if you have that base of those emotional intelligence skills, could really help you position yourself as best as you can given the circumstances, for sure.
Well, thank you, Jaclyn. And we have a part 3 of this, and I hope you will join us again. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, thanks everyone. See you on part 3.